Hey Spuddies, Potatomcwhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Imperator Rome. So we have a legion over here that comprises of a few different things. I think we're going to move one more legion in this area over to fight the war with Iepodia. So we'll get you moving. And I don't really see that there's many of these that I want to go for, so we'll just kind of unpause the game here nice and slow. As we are on a new patch, so sometimes there's a little bit of instability. So I'm going to play the game at a slow speed to see if, if bad things happen. Because I did actually have the game crash on me once before, around the 20th of September. So I'm hoping that by going on a lower speed, we'll get through that. So we have a bunch of cash that we could invest into things with. So for example, over here, some of these provinces have grown. Do we want to produce more stuff? Now we've built granaries in here to make these guys happier, so I think that's going well. The happier that these slaves are, the more that they will produce. We do have an excess of slaves in the capital, so it might be a good idea to move those around. For example, we could produce more wine here. This is farmland after all. We could also be producing more iron and all that sort of jazz. But I think in general, I think things are coming along nicely. And we do have quite a bit of aggressive expansion. But my logic here is that having lots of aggressive expansion reduces the amount of aggressive expansion that you get. And the more of it you have, the faster it drains. So it's actually kind of a good thing to have a lot of it. Even if we are getting negative penalties to the happiness of our citizens, it's not really super hardcore affecting it right now. So in due time, things will level out. Now we do have a decent amount of unrest if we zoom out, in particularly these new areas here. However, this army just got built up to a larger size, and this is the governor army. This is the governor army in this region, which will provide us with a decent amount of unrest reduction, meaning that we can run safely all of these cultural conversion policies to get these provinces to start showing that delicious Roman culture. And in fact, we've already managed to convert quite a few of them. So let's go ahead and see if we can start raising up the speed. You can see the map is starting to turn a lovely shade of red as we culturally convert. And the more pops that we get in our culture, the better. Actually, there is something I want to do. I'm still doing cultural conversion over here. We've got a lot of Romans in here now, which is fantastic. Because if we can get these guys converted, it means they don't take penalties from aggressive expansion, at least not nearly as badly as they do right now. We've got little pockets of Roman appearing, all that sort of jazz. Now I'm curious about, I was doing like civilization effort here for a while, but I think it's just better to get these like culturally converted over to my, just get as many places culturally converted, because then even if like I do lose some territory, it has my culture, so maybe it's a little bit easier to take it back and stuff, and maybe enemies will have a harder time holding it. So I feel like cultural conversion right now feels like a very, very strong governor policy that you can run in a lot of your places. I do still need to expand here. I have a claim over here on this area, but we're just generally expanding. So the first admiral of the navy died. I don't think I need... Dalmatian barbarians rose up. I don't think I need to put a general on these boats. I'm just going to park them somewhere safe. Also, there's a lot of mercenary armies, and we have a lot of gold. We were building a lot of marketplaces around, which I think is the right move, because it's going to make our gold income in these areas a lot more effective over time. Oh, I'm really surprised. I think maybe I moved all the slaves out of here. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody stole them with the Greek traditions. Yeah, this is a pretty well-balanced province, though, with the exception of over here, where it's mostly freemen and citizens. I do like to have a balance of my pops. That's all good. It's a well-balanced province. This province is also pretty well-balanced, although it could use a bit of work in future. Anyway, let's throw down some more marketplaces in Italy. with the view of increasing the total civilization value, increasing the growth rate, increasing the income level, which will further, create a feedback loop where we can just continue to make more and more. Some of these slaves are pretty unhappy, and growth is going to become a problem in our capital region. So I think going for a few granaries through here to make the slaves more productive is actually pretty powerful. Generally through here, those slaves are reasonably happy, so I think it would be totally fine to build at least a few marketplaces around. Like so. The logic being that, marketplaces will provide us with an income boost from these provinces. It's not a huge one, it's only a 5% boost, but 5% is nothing to be sniffed at, especially when you get civilization value out of it. So civic advances, I would like that national tax plus 5%. That scales really nicely off of my base amount of tax that I'm making. If I go here to the economy tab, so I think it's time to get this war declared. We have a legion on the way. You're on independent operations, as are you. This legion is on the way. You're over here defending. You're walking through that pass, so you'll take a chunk of attrition. Their main fort is down here, and I want to get these capitals sieged down if I can. So we're going to prioritize those, and then prioritize the fort as well. We'll kind of let time pass. It actually might be a different region. No, it's actually the right region, but he just doesn't feel like participating. That's fine. You're allowed to not participate. You don't have to. They've only got 24 cohorts, so like my 212 feel pretty resilient. They'll probably take some slaves, but we're going to take all their land anyway, so it's not like it matters. Should be an easy slaughter here, and it is. We probably should hunt down their armies before we go sieging. Keep selling off our trade goods. Now, I did say eventually we're going to just produce so many goods and be trading with so many people that will just be nobody left to trade with. You can kind of see here just everyone who I am trading with. As I erase people from my border, there'll be less and less people to trade with, and we'll start to get the benefit of more and more surplus goods. Want to keep hunting these guys down if we can. Looks like we caught them. That's excellent. While this army makes its way over. We are sieging down. I'm not sure why you're going there. That's okay. I think we can safely go up to speed 4 now. I do want to be careful though, because I was running into issues with speed. Looks like there's some barbarians running down through from up here. We just got a bunch of marketplaces, which should hopefully result in an increase in our income. You can really see where the slaves have been distributed to the capital and stuff. I do want to siege them down as much as possible to capture as many slaves, because the more money I have, the more robust my economy is. And I think that's going to be long-term a really good thing. We actually have quite a good bit of decay, even though we're at war. The populist faction is in power now, which is not ideal. So let's go ahead and head over here and see if we can siege that down. You should have a really good chance of winning this. It's a 50-50 shot. Awesome. Is there one of these provinces with a high population? Not really. Make sure that we take some slaves. National tax. For 5 years. I'm going to just let him lose research, or lose loyalty rather, on the researcher. Taking a lot of attrition. That's because this army over here was taking a chunk of attrition that I didn't notice, because it's a little bit too heavy for the region, which is fine because over time this will tick up, right? Right now it's 13 or whatever. This is a weight of 15, I believe. Yeah, it's a supply weight 15, right? So over time, this will eventually tick up, right? Because it's getting civilization value. Pops will grow. All that sort of jazz will, in the end, result in better outcomes. You can already see the Roman spreading. That's good. Let's keep sieging to take slaves. Am I actually getting slaves? I'm getting a few. We'll see if it's worth it to do this. See if you can hunt these guys down. Okay, you've made it. You can come help siege. Tooth to Celea. So it looks like it does prioritize, seemingly, sending slaves to a nearby... Wait, where's Celea? Celea. So, for example, this city right here is in the same region of Pannonia. So it seems like if you own territory near the region that you're capturing, that you're sieging and like taking slaves from, it does try to send slaves to like the capital of that region, which is really interesting to me. It would be nice if there was like a way to properly track that and have a better idea of where the slaves are going and why they're going where. But I think overall it's fine. We can build up our regional capitals. I was actually digging into the files and trying to see if I could make a mod to try and get populations to move naturally. And the idea that I had was, well, you can actually see that these are very tribal holdings because the majority of the population are tribal. So we'll have to start getting these into, we'll have to start civilizing these lands. But these are like crappy holdings too. I wonder why that is. Is it the culture majority? Oh, it's the culture that decides. Huh. Maybe? Who knows why they are the way they are. I mean, seemingly, it seems like the culture is the thing that decides. But yeah, the idea I had was that, like, a city would, like, randomly be picked in a province. Or, like, it would search through the province, right? And look for the city with the lowest population growth rate. And then it would look for the city with the highest population growth rate. And then move a citizen, or move a pop from the city with the lowest growth rate to the city with the highest growth rate. So that citizen, like, people would naturally, like, spread out to places where there's lots of growth. So you'd have, like, a naturally lower growth, like, a number of people living in hills compared to, say, farmlands, because farmlands is a population growth boost. I thought that would be interesting. I'm going to need to build granaries in here, aren't I? Because we're already running out of room in our capital for room for slaves. I could keep pumping into here, which does technically raise the carrying capacity of this province. I mean, right now we're not taking a huge advantage of it because we're mostly exporting the grain. But I could move more people in here. Right now it's got the carrying capacity for an extra 52 people. And it needs 14 people for grain. So I think I'm going to move 14 people into Norba. Let's see, Norba 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that should be another surplus of grain, which should increase the number of pops this province can support. And I'll also build another granary, which will bring the base happiness of all these slaves up, which will mean they're more productive. Probably more productive than it would be to build marketplaces. But yeah, just generally I'm trying to spread my slaves out, because I've read a few people having trouble with, like, slaves building up to, like, an outrageous number in the capital, and that becomes, like, a problem that you can't feed the capital anymore. So I'm thinking if I move people around and I'm constantly producing grain, then I'm in a good spot. Oh, this army doesn't have a leader. It is the composition that I want, because with our italic traditions, we have good heavy infantry, light cavalry, and light infantry. You can see our bonuses are currently geared towards light infantry, light cavalry, and then mostly sieging. I definitely want the construct border fort thing if I can get it. I mean, we could probably get peace already, and that would be good for aggressive expansion decay, but I want to see if I can capture more slaves. So that's why I'm sieging this all down manually. You are a decent commander, so we'll put you in charge. Sending them to Rome, that's good. That's what we want. We took 12 slaves. And killing off pops is also technically good for us, because that means there's less pops for us to have to convert. And it means that this land is easier to control, because there's less people who can generate unrest. And that they, when they're integrated, they take up a smaller proportion of our total population, which means their impact on the overall stability of our realm is minimized. These regional powers are quite easy to gobble up, I gotta say, when they don't have any big friends. Oh, we got a civic advance. So, national tax, I feel like, is a really good one, and so is colony, because we are going to be up against empty land. So I'm going to grab colony. We could get tribesman output. I'm going to go ahead and grab just base tax, national tax. Ideally, I want to get away from as many tribesmen as possible. Oh, I definitely want that military ambassadors. I don't think I'm going to get it before this war is over, but the double whammy aggressive expansion impact reduction is going to be really, really nice for the long-term expansion of our empire. And come on now, like I feel like we're big enough to be called an empire. This is like, come on, this is barely a republic anymore. we're definitely at least on the way to becoming the Roman Empire. I can say that much. I should be able to snatch up a few extra slaves in this war. We managed to take 15, which feels like a decent amount to me. We'll catch this army over here when we're done sieging this. I'm going to buy wine. But an extra 15 slaves, you know, that's potentially another good produced in the capital. Now, we do need to be careful because we're running out of room. I really do think that my base tax in here is so low from these guys being so unhappy that more granaries would actually net me more cash in here. So I'm going to delete one of these markets. And the reason I'm deleting it is because I want to move more pops out of here if I can. And plus, granaries just let you support more troops. I think there is a time where marketplaces are better. And that's generally speaking when you're building them in provinces with your own culture, where you're not going to be getting a lot of wrong culture slaves. Otherwise, I think granaries are actually better. Okay, so once these are flipped, that'll be 100% occupation, and we will have taken as many of the slaves as we can possibly take. Let's see, a shrine to Isis. Sister Freeman, Velated to Kemetic, Egyptian goddess. Hell yeah. Lose a bit of religious power, turn it into gold. It seems like a deal to me. So we've taken in total 16 slaves. They have 200 pops. We're going to sue for peace. We're going to take all of their provinces for 10 AE. We'll take their money. And we're going to put their upper class to the sword. I mean, we could realistically keep expanding here. There is a, I think you're a region. Are you a regional power? I can't remember. One of these guys is a regional power that I could take on. Let me have a look here. We got local power. Yeah, regional powers are much easier to kill because they're not don't have allies, so to speak. But now might be a good moment of just like a little bit of peace, a little bit of relaxation. Although my name Rome, it's a little bit wonky right now. We still haven't taken on Carthage in any respect, but I think we've grown in power compared to Carthage, like insanely. We're almost up to great power status. I would like to get to great power status and then spend a little bit of time there. So let's look and see who we could go to war with. I could take Bella on, who is allied with who? Bella has no allies. That is kind of insane. I think you're actually a regional power, so you would be very easy to take on. Since you don't have any allies. Ah, okay, excellent. So the leader of this army died, which means we can retool this army. So I think we're gonna move away from using archers as Rome. I think archers are actually like a totally fine unit, but I think Rome is best. Like most of our bonuses are for like very few of our like we have archers hill combat bonus, like that's not really great. I mean, we do get cheaper archers later, but I don't think we don't really get combat boosts for archers, really. No, it's mostly light infantry, light cavalry, and heavy infantry is what we're going to be using. So let's grab, if we want to be like true to Rome, we don't need any more velites. We'll grab 2 more auxilia, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 principes. Manpower is a problem. I'm gonna leave one army out here in a nice high supply province like there. And I'm going to take these 2 armies and just slow march them over to fight this war. And by the time, once they get here, that's when we'll fight the war. We'll probably take some manpower attrition on the way. That's okay. Manpower is a bit of a problem for me right now. I have 500,000 maximum capacity, but just through attrition and all this other stuff, we've burnt it down. So it might be a good idea to take some mercs, but it'll be fine. So I wonder if I can go up to speed 5 safely. Last time I went to speed 5 when I was doing a little bit of a test on the patch, it kind of crashed on me. So I'm hoping that this goes okay. We have a bunch of cash in the bank. Now I'm curious. Like the slave output here is low because of our aggressive expansion. Also, I think we're done civilizing this province. And so we could safely either go on to culturally converting it to get this population to follow our to become Roman and stop being Umbrian and Sabellian, and I think that's actually a reasonable thing to do. We're going to culturally assimilate here, and the idea behind that is you know, just when pops follow my own personal culture, that it goes better for me. You can see little splotches of Rome starting to appear, which means that the conversion process is ongoing and going quite well. There will be a civilization process too we go through. But I feel like just making sure people are your culture is like the best yield, because like the difference between a Roman pop and a Lepontic pop is like literal infinite when you're expanding this much. Now unrest is pretty rough. I feel like I might take like 5 years of peace here. And if I were to do 5 years of peace, like Blessing of Ceres, no, I think the national unrest thing is just like way too good, because it just like erases all of this unrest, which keeps my loyalty in a great position. I do feel like that's a little bit strong. I think it would be good maybe to have that nerfed slightly. So do I want to move more slaves out of Rome? Now, what goods are being produced here, right? We've got grain, we've got olives, we've got horses. Let's see. salt, iron. Local fort defense isn't too good. Local freeman happiness is pretty good. We're already producing that in the capital. Extra iron isn't bad. I wouldn't mind producing more horses as well. Grain is like the big thing though. I think the main thing is just to get these guys spread out as much as we can. So do we want to put some pops over here in Ostia? It is producing iron, which is only a manpower boost in this local province, which isn't like super amazing because we don't really have that many freemen in my capital region. It's mostly citizens and slaves because this is like, I think I've like traded away most of those guys. Yeah, is that what I want to do? Is that what I want to do? I think it's probably just a good idea to spread out the slaves a little bit. Like, we'll move like 5 over to Tibur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll grab a granary in here. We'll do a split between granaries and marketplaces in here. Shall put up with it. I still think it's worth it in here, and just in general, to throw down marketplaces. Increases the value of like these provinces by a significant amount. Import wine. You can just see how many people I'm trading with. My goal is to kill basically everyone though, and then I won't be trading with anyone. And I can keep all my surplus goods to myself. That would be fun. Taking a very small scooch of attrition over here. Let's move you into a province where you'll have supply. I would love to get a supply boost if I could. Let's see, the civilization map mode is kind of low over here in these new places. Unfortunately, these guys are really bad about dealing with barbs. So they do have to be manually controlled, because for some reason they just won't play nice. Shrine of Fortuna, so I could spend 1,000 gold and gain local unrest for 20 years. That's only in Numantia though. Numantia. So we're now in charge of this war, apparently. Alright. Do I just hire a merc band? In theory, my vassals should be able to handle this. Fine, I'll hire the mercs and get this done. A little bit of extra cash from trade. Looks like we lost our Praefectus Militaris. which is good for cash. My vassal probably could have won this war without me, now that I think about it. Yeah, this was a mistake. I can't take control and then just use them to assault. Take control and assault. That'll bring the numbers down, and these will recover slowly. Probably burnt my vassal's manpower there, actually. Might not have been a super amazing idea. Completely just shit on his manpower. Hey, an oratory tech advance. So we want to get rid of aggressive expansion and economic integration here. We're bleeding off nearly a third of a point of aggressive expansion a month, which is really, really fast rates. We're in a defensive war, so that's good too. One of my armies is taking attrition. Just get up over there. I'll just take this city for myself. They're the wrong culture as far as I know, yeah, so we'll just put them to the sword. Culturally, it'd probably be a good idea to just go to cultural assimilation here. This guy is reasonably young. We'll disband this. So let's go ahead and fabricate a claim on these guys. Although, it might be a good idea to wait until the next election. The populist faction is a little bit strong right now. It would be good if we could get the civic faction in control, but... There we go, the military faction is in control. Excellent. Fabricate a claim. So the populist faction won't join us, but we'll force through the war. And that should logically increase the popularity of the militarist faction. So we'll get you working on that. We'll kind of go down to a lower speed here. The O'Philly family. Lost our religious guy. We'll make sure we get him in there. We're about to get a religious advance, and there is a national pop growth in there, which is good. It means we can hold more pops in our capital. Every time I say that, I think of like the phrase pop a cap, and I don't know why. Just has like a sort of a similar cadence to it. Pops in our cap, pop a cap. Already capturing Semine and Massilla. Probably one of these cities in here. Semon. I can't remember what the name of the province the things were. We got slaves, basically. That's the important part. I'm curious if, like, this city, if Rome will ever become non-Roman from the amount of non-Roman pops in it. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that the Hebrew culture was in the same culture group as the Carthaginian and the Phoenician. That is interesting. Judea over there, living strong. And I didn't even realize there was an Aramaic or Assyrian and Bactrian are all in the same group too. It's interesting. The things that you could do with some of these. Egyptian is starting to disappear due to the cultural conversion of the Macedonians. Similar stuff going on over here too. Anyway, back to the war. Oh my god! They have 63 cohorts. You need to skirmish to buy time? Finish capturing that province. And get the hell up here to defend. They're locked in. We are obliterating. I think maybe we had the wrong stratagem. Looks like things are going to happen anyway. We don't really have control over this fight anymore. They're locked in. Skirmishing versus skirmishing. I can take that. Alright, we're cutting them down. We're doing a lot more damage, although they have really good discipline, actually. A little bit surprised by that, if I'm totally honest. You had to retreat. The main thing that's upsetting here is that they broke my siege, which means I'll have to re-siege it. They have one of my... I think they captured my general. They did. He has been imprisoned by them. That is annoying. I've already captured 10 slaves though, which is interesting. I wanted to delete you, but apparently some of these like troops are randomly loyal to someone who is dead, I think. Might be a good idea to have a little cavalry army for like just running around sieging stuff. Better for you to go over there. I love how Patrii or whatever they're called is like over here, always helping me in my wars. Just like with this little baby stack of units, just taking some slaves for themselves. You know what's good. I'm actually curious, like, have they managed to like take a significant amount of slaves in their capital? Wait, where's their capital? It's here, right? I can't tell because there's a goddamn symbol thing in the way. Where's your capital? Is this your capital? Capital city. They have no slaves in their capital. They have not taken any slaves. What are you even doing occupying? Okay, whatever. Burnt quite a bit of manpower. Just get over to here in general. So we're in position to reinforce, and we have to pass through this gap. I didn't realize they had so many cohorts. They must be decentralized or something. Although they are regional power as a tribe, so they get an extra clan chief and all that sort of stuff. That kind of makes sense. The prime farmland granted to veterans of battle is a simple recognition of their service to Rome. Sometimes, however, the lure of battle's glory can prove too much for these unaccustomed to life of menial labor. A recent bad winter caused those working the fields to up and leave, leaving a vast tract of arable land unclaimed. So that means Sparta, the city over here, gains state-owned farmlands, which is a modifier. That's really interesting. Cool. Alright, we should be able to pour through the gap. Move our armies one at a time. Carefully, naturally. We can go up to speed 4 here. I think we're safe. You can pass to the right. You pass through. You pass through. Oh, you're my Independent army. Accept the offer. This time we obliterated them because they didn't have any terrain advantages holding them back. Look at that. We did 1,000. Like 1,000 damage on the first day of combat. This is just painful for them. Truly unstoppable. Excellent. Got some of that delicious, delicious military power. Spread out our armies a little bit. Capture all these provinces. We're going to be all the way up into Aquitania. Which might make it necessary for us to kill these guys. Only time will tell. New invention. We will soon get an extra discipline boost from martial advances. How many slaves have we taken already? 23. Excellent. Most of them going to Rome. Most of these armies are on skirmishing stance because it like reduces how much damage they take, which gives me time to reinforce. I mean, I could integrate these guys, but I don't think it's necessary just yet. We'll finish this war up. We'll take all this land. Let's hold off on that until we get this 4th army in reinforcement position. Oh, my vassal has forced my hand now. Should be able to take this on. Don't need you. Let's get these guys stacked up together. Stacked up and shacked up so that we can capture this army. He's taking like horrific attrition over here, so I'm actually fine with not engaging just yet. 1 pop's died. Get in here. 1 pop to Roma. We'll get all these guys to attack on the same day. If we can. Ideally, they would attack at the same time, but they're likely to spread. Ooh, so this would give me national unrest and call omen cost. I can get it for 10 years, but I can spend 900 gold to get it for an extra 5 years. Is that worth it? I don't think the extra unrest reduction is really worth the extra 900 gold. Alright, let's go ahead and fight this major battle. We have their backs against the river. We're actually taking pretty bad hits because we have the bottleneck strategy. But we have a secondary army coming in. Still, we broke them. We rolled high. Well, they rolled high, but not really sure what actually made us win there, to be honest. Hey, a religious advance. Let's see, national pop growth, I feel like, scales really nicely with the size of your empire. It's basically an extra pop per province every 100 and something years. Right, let's get these guys spread out now. We'll send 2 of our fresher armies to go take on this. Once we have this province finished, we shall have potentially an extra slave or 2 to Fine Secundum and Ilerda. Secundum. No, it got sent up here. And Lerda? Down here a slave got sent to. Interesting. Be a good idea to get ourselves a training camp. Get rid of that. Definitely a good idea to get some granaries in here to make these slaves happier. Mostly it's like a cultural conversion thing too that we need to do. Alright, so we have 100% war score. Let's go ahead and finish this war. We'll sue for peace. We'll take all of the land that we can. Take all of their money. This is 10 aggressive expansion. And you can see it's being reduced quite heavily because of our existing aggressive expansion and a bunch of other modifiers that we have, like the Cassian Reform, military ambassadors. You probably see it more accurately over here. The total aggressive expansion is being reduced by 30, 40, we're almost getting half the aggressive expansion we would naturally get. And now we're going to become a great power, and boom. So being a great power, we can now do some really interesting actions that you can't do as a smaller power. We'll get rid of those. So one thing we get, I think we get an extra capital import route. Nope. But I think changing governor policy cost goes down, and we get diplomatic range, and the government bonus multiplier goes up. I think one of the things we can do now is, like, for example, support rebels here. So we will get aggressive expansion change and diplomatic reputation, and any rebellions will happen. This will make their wrong culture group happiness like way worse, which is interesting because it's basically a way for, like, let's say I'm a great power and there's another great power emerging. I have like a tool I can use against another great power. I don't think I can. I think I can do it against these smaller guys, but I think it's more applicable to these bigger guys. And I think there's a couple of other ones that I can do. I think. So, one of my regions is without a governor. Aquitania over here. We're going to go ahead and pick a governor. Numerius Quintius. Commerce income. It looks like he is mostly gone with sort of chilled out policies. I'm going to make sure that he runs cultural assimilation. It only costs me now 25 points. And I think probably next episode we're going to get to work on conquering some more of these areas. So we're going to be getting into some pretty large wars here. But we'll be able to tidy those up. We'll eat all the aggressive expansion and it'll be fine. I might spend a small period at peace. I have a decent amount of manpower, but I'd like to have like a third of my manpower, which would take like a couple of years, like 3 years to build up. Yeah. Got a decent number of slaves in the capital. I could move more to Norba. That's becoming a little bit redundant now. Or not redundant, but it's like there's already a lot of slaves here. Producing a bunch of grain. We could produce more stuff. Some of the people I will be killing are people I'm trading with. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see. The Roman Empire has grown. We haven't grown so much in the eastern direction. I've been really focused on this western sort of tribal direction because I feel like if I can start civilizing these areas, I'll have a much easier time like just drawing upon this like vast, endless like wealth to basically conquer to the east. If I can take on all this sort of stuff, and then I'll even be able to do some colonization eventually if we can get these places culturally converted. That's something I didn't do in here. Let's switch these regions to cultural conversion. I'm going to do that real quick. At least in the ones that are like I have most of the control in. Or all of the control in, rather. It's still worth it to do here as well. I'll even do it here, right? Whatever. Because if we can get these places to follow our culture, I'll get that lovely shades of red starting to spread throughout. Little cancerous blobs of Romans appearing. They will continue to expand. I'm excited about that. That's really cool. You know, there's something. I think people are giving the game a lot of shit for being a map painting game, but like, a map painting game is fun. Like, I'm having fun spreading my culture. I'm having fun making Rome bigger, right? I think that's like, I don't know. It seems a little bit silly to me to be like, oh, it's just a map painting game. It's like, well, like, Peggle is just like, you know, like pachinko or whatever. Like, yeah, it's really simple, but it, like, in its scope or whatever, or execution, but that doesn't mean it's not fun, right? It's like, it seems like a really weak criticism. Like, I'm having fun playing the game. And I don't think this game is as shallow as people are making it out to be. I think there could be more depth. I definitely don't think it's like a super duper deep game, but I think like for a launch Paradox title, I think this is actually the deepest game that Paradox has ever released, like on launch. It's the deepest game on launch, right? Because there's like so many different systems that you can interact with and do things with and optimize that there's a and like I think it's like the only Paradox game where there actually were more, like there were two ways you could play. You could either play tall or play wide, right? Whereas in most Paradox games, like wide is the only viable way to play. Whereas I actually think it's totally valid to play tall in this game. But I think it's way more fun to play wide because you get to paint the map my culture color. Anyway, that's just like a little thought that I had there. Yeah, I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.